All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is Daf Pei, Sachas Yivamas. So we left off at the bottom line yesterday. We said, what's the case of a Sris Chama? What is somebody who's basically considered to be sterile, Chama, from birth? Hey, you can move over. I don't think you guys not coming. You got left already? You can move over if you want. Or just slide down here. From the herring and the tuna. You don't want to smell like it. All right. So we said over there, what's a Sris Chama? Basically, someone who's sterile from birth. So Rabbi Yochanan says, so anybody who never saw any moment when he was completely healthy. So excuse me, Menaya Dinan. So top line to pay him at Aleph. So Menaya Dinan. So how do we know that he never is? What are the signs? Right? The person who goes ahead and urinates and does not have an arc. I guess does not urinate with pressure. What is that from? His mother used to go ahead and bake bread. Oh, actually, it moved down a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. He used to go ahead and bake bread in the heat of the day by the oven, so it was very hot, while drinking this Marka beer. Right? Some say it was very strong, or some say it was diluted. Either way, basically it heated up her body, and while she was pregnant, and therefore basically it caused damage to her fetus. And Amar Rav Yosef, he said one time he heard his mother say, he heard someone say, what did he say? So he says, right, he once heard that he heard, I guess Ami said that when I guess a mother is injures, right, the child, and he didn't know what he was referring to, and now he knows he's referring to basically baking bread by the oven by the heat of the day while drinking this beer, right? I guess similar to a pregnant woman smoking cigarettes or something, which is correct. Fine. Perhaps maybe we should be concerned that maybe at some point in time the child or the baby, whatever, became unsterile, that became sterile again. The Gemara says no, since the beginning when he was born, the baby was never able to urinate properly, and then later on, right, he was proven to be sterile. So therefore, we're now choshesh that at some point in time in the middle he became healthy, or he healed. So Rav Mari. So Rav Mari is Rabbi Chanina ben Antignos. So it says over there by I think it was by a Bechor, or no, maybe this is before by Sabahema. One second, Rashi. By a Bechor, right? Before, in terms of being a Balmum. Right, so in other words, if the animal is considered to be a balmum with a mum that is lasting, so becomes his personal property, doesn't have to go ahead and offer it. So over there it says for 80 days you have to check it in the beginning, at the end, and in the middle. Well, what do you mean? You just said check in the beginning and the end. That's okay. Over here, it seems to be chayshish for something maybe to occur in the middle, so you have to check in the middle. So what's the difference? So right, when it's one limb, i.e. there's a mum in the animal, let's say a cataract or something, the eye or whatever it is. So then there's one part of the body, an aver, a limb that could heal and then go bad, go back against being bad. However, if somebody is sterile, then that's something with the entire body. Therefore, if you see at the beginning was not healthy and the end also was a sris, then therefore when Achaish in the middle became healed. So Rabbi Eliezer said opposite. So we had a machlokes in the case of our Mishnah of turned the person was a Sris Chama versus a Sris Adam. Which person is in the parsha of Yiva Mechlitz is not? So Rabbi Eliezer said opposite of Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Eliezer said if he's a Sris Chama, right, then he is in the parsha. And even though he was born like that, he is in the parsha of Yiva Mechlitz. Why? Because perhaps that's curable. Versus somebody, let's say, who became castrated, it's not curable.
And how do we know?
How do we know what?
He's a Sris Chama. You don't know whether he's either younger if they.
When he was born, well, that's what we said. The Gemara asked, right? How do you know? And perhaps the child from an early age, right? The sign was, I guess, the urination, right? That was the sign? Yeah. If a person was 20 years old and not bring two hairs, right, two pubic hair signs of maturity, he brings a proof that he's 20 years old, right? That he's already 20. People remember when he was born, they testify, and he is now considered to be a stris because he never showed signs of maturity by the age of 20. And lo chalitz v'lo miyabin, right? And he does not do chalitza or yibum. Bas esrim, if she, right, bas esrim lo yavi shtei saros, and she did not bring 2 years. Yaviu raishi bas esrim. They have to, bring proof that she's 20 years old. The islandess, and she's referred to as now an islandess, and she does not do chalitza or yibum because she's outside the parsha. There's no possibility of having children in the brother's name, so therefore there would not be a requirement of yibum chalitza if she was widowed from one of the brothers. Deviate Beis Hillel, that's the opinion of Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai argues and says no. Zev b'nei shmona esrei. It's not the age of 20, rather the age of 18.
And that would answer his question.
No, what?
By the age of 20, you'd know if the person has it really there.
Right, by the age of 20. But he wants to know. He wanted to know how the entire time.
From the born, you
right?
Know, but you still know if you will turn at that.
Right, right. So therefore, once you get to the age of 18, right? So then we wait, right, to see if there is any physical signs of maturity.
So how would you know if at 2-3 years old you're not?
No, you wouldn't know that, right? You wouldn't know that. Right, but the question was how would you know maybe he became healed in the middle and then went bad again? That was right.
If it's reversed.
That was right.
As if it went.
In other words, he was okay for whatever. I mean, I don't know what it means not to be sterile when you're 5 years old. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you can reproduce, right? But it's just a sign, physical, whatever was lacking in the body, right? So Beis Hillel says the age is 20. Beis Shammai comes in and says it's 18. And Rabbi Eliezer. No. We more machmir because he calls him a stris. We'll soon see why. Let's see. So Rabbi Eliezer Aimer hazachar kedivei Beis Hillel l'nekeva kedivei Beis Shammai. No, males are 20, females are 18. Why? Because the woman matures before a man, and therefore, if a woman is not mature by the age of 18, you know that she'll never mature again, and she's considered to be a stris. And so, what do you see from over here? He rules Rabbi Eliezer like Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel says by the age of 20, you're a stris chama, and there's no chalitza, no yibum. So that's like Rabbi Akiva, who says if you're born that way, there's no yibum or chalitza. But not. But Rabbi Eliezer in our Mishnah says, no, if you're born that way, perhaps you can be healed down the road. So therefore, you are still in the parsha of Yibam Chalitza. So therefore, you need to do it.
The opposite.
Sris Chama means that you were born that way. In other words, you were never healthy at the light of the sun. Right. Once you saw the sun, you're never healthy. Sris Chama versus Sris Adam, where let's say someone castrates or is castrated. So Amar Rabbi Bar Dikle Amar Shmuel Chazaba. Okay, so Rabbi Eliezer was Chayzer. So Chazaba Rabbi Eliezer. So Ibarlu Ma'u Hadarbe. So which one was he Chayzer from? Right? Did it first agree with Rabbi Kiva, then was Chayzer, or did he first disagree, then he agreed? So Tashma, come listen. The Tani learned about Rabbi Eliezer Aimer Sris Chama Chayleitz v'Choltzin leishto Shechein b'Minan Misrapin v'Zanja Shemitzrayim. A person who was born like that, nevertheless, right? He does chalitza, right, and does yibum. So why? Because he could be cured. Because we found the case of the doctors in Alexandria Mitzrayim, they healed people that were stris chama. So what do you see from here? Stris chama is in the parsha of yibum chalitza, and therefore Rabbi Eliezer sticks with his shita in our Mishnah, and it must have been he was chayzer that which he agreed with Beis Hillel. And Rabbi Elazar, Omer Lielam, not really he was a chayzer. And that which he says, like Beis Hillel is 20 and by a male, and when it comes to a girl, it's like Beis Shammai 18. Fine, but that over there was only said by Onshin. He wasn't talking about the halachas of Yibam Chalitza. He was just saying, yes, you become a stris when you're 20, right? We'll soon see what the nafkamin is in terms of 20 or 18, and therefore you become punishable by that age. But a boy isn't punishable until the age of 20, and a girl will show maturity by the age of 18. So Itamar, Acho chelev mi ben shteim esrei v'yayim echad ad ben shmona esrei. If a child ate chelev, right, prohibited fats, would have to bring a korban if it's a b'shogeg, right, between the age of 12 and 20. Right, right, from 12 one day until 18 and one day. So we're talking about a girl, okay? And therefore, and signs, even if there was physical maturity. So let's say we're talking about a girl and she went to 18, there was no physical signs of maturity. When she becomes 23, all of a sudden she shows signs of physical maturity. Oh, maybe she's maturing. So the Gemara says, even if she goes ahead and she shows signs after the point in time where we say, hey, 18 is the cutoff date, right? Rav Omar Nasa Sris Lamafreya. It turns out that you're a Sris Lamafreya. You go retroactively. So therefore, by the age of 12, in other words, normally you become a gadol by the age of, let's say a girl, right? She becomes a bogeres, right? She has physical signs of maturity. She's old enough. Therefore, she's considered to be a bogeres, a gadola. No. So therefore, if you ate chelev during that time, all of a sudden it turns out you were a gadol. You were now an adult. In other words, until now, we didn't know you were an adult. Now we just thought you weren't an adult yet because you didn't physically mature. Once you see you're never going to mature, retroactively, we're going to call you an adult from the age of 12. Therefore, when you ate chelev when you were 13, you got to bring a karma chatas now. So now, you go backwards, and therefore you're chayiv for anything that any karbanos you would have to bring from the age of 12. So once you become a streets on islandist, you become an adult retroactively. Now, this is your peak maturity. And even if you grow hair afterwards, we disregard those hairs. If after the time, it's too late. Ushmol Amar, right? Doesn't mean right. It doesn't say they have kids. It show hairs. It could be from some sort of wart or whatever, something that caused hairs to grow, but it wasn't a physical sign of maturity. Shmuel Amar Katan Haya Ba'isasha. Shmuel says no. Up until 18, even though we see now that you were never going to physically mature, up until 18, you're still considered to be a non-adult, and then 18 and 9, you're an adult. So according to Rav, who says you go back Lamafreya and he says, okay, now we see that really at the age of 12 you were considered to be mature. The Rav Island is Rav Meir Yela Kanas. So there's a machlokas over there in the Gemara in Ksubis. So it discusses over there by a case of a nara. A person who violates the nara, he has to pay bedafka naros. Machlokas over there to pay 50 kesef. So. Right. So over there, he says by an islandist, you're not going to have a case of where there's ever a fine. So what do you mean? If you go back, Lamafreya, now a Nara, who is the girl who gets the fine, or her father, right? So the fine is paid between the ages of 12 and 12 and a half. So what do you mean? When you get to the age of 18 and you're islandist, according to Rav, you go back retroactively, and therefore between the ages of 12 to 12 and a half, you're a Nara, and 12 and a half and on, you're a Bulgaris. So why do we say you go back? And islandist should be too. So now it's even a person who violates a girl when she was, 12 years and 3 months. So, she wasn't a Nara yet. She didn't show signs of physical maturity. So you're putter from the paying the fine. Well, what do you mean? According to Rav, retroactively, you should pay it. So this Chiddush says Abaye, no. The way it works retroactively doesn't mean retroactively you go back and between the ages of 12 to 12 and a half, you're an Aram, from 12 and a half and on, you're a Bulgaris. It means at 12, you're a Katana. At 12 years and a day, you were a Bulgaris. You go straight to Gedola, and therefore there is no Nara stage. If there is no Nara stage, which is a special, unique age for a girl to the age of 12 and 12 and a half, therefore there is no fine. And all these great chidushim that you say, please say my name. The Tani learned in the Brisa, Eina Sris Nidon Keben Sarah Moira, the Fishay Ben Sarah Moira Nidon El Chasimas Zakena Tachton. So it's learned out that a child, Ben Sarah Moira, who gets a child shows different signs. It's very, as eighth parak in Sanhedrin, it goes through many different signs of what a Ben Sarah Moira is, one of which has to be that he's fully matured. In terms of pubic hair. So therefore, in this case, you can never have a sris, right, who is a ben Sarah Mora because he doesn't show the signs of physical maturity. And also, in Alanis, Nidonis, but also you can never have an Alis of a Namarasa, right? A girl who was engaged when she was a Nara, and then she's Mizana and she gets put to death. You never have that case. Why? Because once again, if you're an Islandist, that means by the age of 18, where you didn't show signs of maturity, you go retroactively, but you only go retroactively not to become a Nara, rather you only become a Bulgaris.
So Rabbi's probably right, because what's the difference 18 and 20? Where did they found that physiologically?
Well, he said that the women mature earlier than men. So
no, but I'm saying why they waited 18 and 20? Why couldn't wait 20 and 23?
so right. So there has to
What
be
is the cutoff?
right. So there's
What makes
a
it,
Zman. There's a Zman and Masor. In other words, there has to be a cutoff time, right? You have to choose, and not everyone's the same. But they say by the age of 18, if you show no signs of physical maturity, that's it. Then you're never going to mature again, or you're never going to mature in any.
because the retroactive seems more logical because the 18 is a determined date, but it's not.
Well, 18 is a date where we go back and say, you know what, if you didn't, mature by now, you're never going to mature. And if you're never going to mature, that means you're really mature to your level by the age of 12 when other people are just physically mature. And this is your level of maturity. Over there, so I'm going to go Simani Sris, the islandess. So the Simani of Sris and the islandess Ben Shmona, and also a child who was carried for 8 months. Now, the Gemara brings down that a child is either 7 months or 9 months. Those are viable babies that can be born. But for 8 months, you're neither here nor there, and the baby would die. So if a child was born after 8 months, we don't do anything with this person because we don't know if the person will survive. Live to the age of 20, then we know that he must not have been an 8-month carry. He must have been a child who basically, as we'll soon see, was carried for 7 months and just hung around in his mother's womb for a month.
30 days, not 20.
What does that mean?
So-
You're saying to be 30 days, make it viable, not 20 years. That's what you would think.
Right. So we'll soon see. Right. Ben Shmona Mikchai. But second, 8 months can they live? So Ben Shmona, if a woman gives birth to a child after 8 months, Harehu Ke'evan, he's like a stone because he's gonna die, right? So he's muksa. But the mother is allowed to go ahead and lean over and nurse mipnei hasakana, because it's sakana to her, the sakana to him, right? She has to go ahead and nurse, right, for her physical safety and also for the child. So what do you see over there? That the child's gonna die. So what are you talking about? The 20 years. Over there, we'll soon see that if these signs, right, there's certain signs that we see that a child was born with, right, in terms of the nails were and the hair, if those are more mature and grown in, then it shows that really the child was basically, ready to go at 7 months and just hung around for a month. The time of the Bryce, Ezu ben Shmona, Koshaloi, Kaloloi, Chadasha, but it did not go ahead and complete the months. And Rabbi Amir, Simanim Muchijin love. No, the signs, the physical signs, can testify to it. Saro, but basically the hair and the nails didn't finish growing, right? And those are signs that there was 8 months. So Tam Gamru, Ha Gamru, Aminan Hai Bar Shiva. Right, but if the nails were grown in properly, right, they were matured for a normal baby that's born, or the hair, then the baby basically was a 7-month carry and just hung around for a month. A woman, her husband, went off to the seas for a long trip. And 12 months later, she gave birth. And they said, it's kosher. 12, she carried her child for 12 months. So come on, Karebi, Damar Amishtai, right? Yeah, so he says, right, so it must be only like Rebbe's single opinion who holds that a child was 9 months and just right.
Months into the trip.
Yeah. So no, but the husband was gone. Saying the husband was out of town for a year.
She didn't go, he went.
Yeah, just yeah. So she was home alone for 12 months, or allegedly home alone, right? So he said, so why? Right. So why? Because she cared for 9 months, and the baby hung around for 3 months. So it's like Rebbe. So Gemara says, no, came on Deacon the Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. There's also another sheet like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Dam Amashti Karabim. Mashiach Karabim Oven. since there is also Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, not just opinion of Rebbe, so therefore we can say that the child hung around for a couple months within the mother's womb. The time of the Brisa, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Leimer, Kol shloshim yom be'adam ein nefel. Any child, right, that survives for 30 days is not considered to be a nefel. So therefore. So we see why. So even a child it was 8 months and survives 30 days. It must be because the child was lingering around for a month. So it's over here, the child was lingering around for 3 months, and therefore is machshir. So Taner Rabbanan, Ezus Sris, what is a Sris? Chama, Kol Shu Bet Esrim, Lahedi Shtei Saros, anybody who's 20 does not bring 2 hairs, Vafilu Hevi La'achim Mikana, even if they bring physical signs of maturity afterwards, it's not considered to be physical signs of maturity. It's just sort of a mum. And harehu kasris l'chol dvar, and therefore it's considered to be a sris for all matters. Ve'elu hein simadav, and what are other signs? Kol shein lo zaken, right? He doesn't have a beard of a sarah luckily, right? And his hair is very his hair is like thin, right? Ubsaro machlik, and his skin is unusually smooth. Right, if I guess when he goes to the bathroom, it doesn't foam up his urine. They say he urinates and doesn't create an arc. Some say if his shikha zera is very watery. Right. Also, if his urine doesn't become putrid, then it's a sign that he's distressed. Others say, whoever goes ahead and basically bathes in the winter and his flesh, doesn't, have an odor, right? So therefore, these are all signs of a stress of a person who will never reach physical maturity. And Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, and Nikah ben Isha, also his voice is very, very high, and you can't tell whether it's a man or a woman. Vezi Alanis, and what are the signs, physical signs of an islandess? Kol she bas esim. If she's 20, beisaros, and she got grow 2 hairs, 2 pubic hairs. Even she, they grew afterwards. It doesn't count. Harei k'anis l'chol dvara. She's considered anis for all matters. Ve'elein simanah, and these are other signs. Kol shein la dadim. All right, a woman, she does not grow dadim, breast, and kasha b'shas tashmish, and there's pain during tashmish. And Rosh Gamliel Aimer Kol Shein La Shivui Mayim Kanashim. Also, she doesn't appear to have, to be wider at the bottom, right, where she can carry a child. Rosh Ben Elazar Aimer Kol Shekaila Ava Ve'edin Nikeres Ben Ishalish. Right, so her voice is very deep, and you can't tell whether it's a man or a woman. So all those are signs of an islandess, and therefore she's Alice. So Itamar Siman Istris. So regarding all these matters, Rav Huna Amar Ad Shu Kulam. Rav Huna says you need all of these signs to be a sris. Rav Yechna Amar Afilu B'Yachad Mehem. Even if I only have one of them, are considered to be a sris. However, Heichad Vishtei Sarais Bezakein, where he went ahead and he had 2 hairs, right, 2 pubic hairs, Koli Amalei Pligi, and nobody argues Ad Shu Kulam, right? If he grows 2 hairs, then it's not just, if you have one of those, you're not a stress. If you have pubic hair, then you need all of them, right? So I feel when there are no hairs. So rather than no hairs, then it's considered whether you need all of them or just one of them. So so he said to the Rabbanan, Aine Beit Rav Nachman I Besara Ma'ala Hevel. So he says, go ahead and check Rav Nachman, see if his flesh, right, his Ma'ala Hevel, I guess if he gives off a smell, I guess when he bathes in the winter, baras, right? And if he does, then I'm going to go ahead and give my daughter to marry. He's not a sris, and therefore I want him to be my son-in-law. So come on, who is this like? Rav Huna. This is like Rav Huna, who says, hey, as long as he doesn't have one of these qualities, he's good to go, and therefore he's considered to be a regular gadol. So he says, lo, Rav Nachman, sichi dikna havile. Now Rav Nachman, I guess, had a couple hairs growing, and therefore he already showed those signs. So it could be that maybe if just one of the signs weren't there, then he'd be able to go ahead as a proof that even if the others were there, it doesn't make a difference because he would be okay. And we said back in the Mishnah, we're just going to get to the Mishnah on top. A stress Is repeated itself. There's no chalitza or yibum b'chein alanis. So ktani stris. So it says over there stris doing the alanis, similar to alanis. Ma alanis b'dei shemayim. Just like an alanis is a woman who's born like that of the alanis. Asris. So too over here, the stris that we're talking about is referring to a stris chaba, and not something that was done by man. B'dei shemayim ustama k'Rabbi Akiva. Therefore, this stam part of the mission at the end is like Rabbi Akiva. Damar b'dei adam in b'dei shemayim lo. Only right if it's b'dei adam. Right, then you can do Yibam Chalitza. But they Shemayim, then you completely pater just like an Alice. And we said Hachri, and then we said Asris Shechalatz, the Yavama, if Asris does do Chalitza, we say it's nothing. The woman is still good to go. She can marry a Kohen, La Pasla, it's a Tama Devala. But he says if he's boil her, right, then she's Pasla Lakuna. So the Gemara says Tama Devala. Only the reason is that she was Nivelas with him. But if she was mezana with somebody else, she was waiting for Yibum, and then she had relations with another man, which she wasn't supposed to do, but she's not a zona then. So lo. But if she was nivelas with somebody else, it would not pass her to the kahuna. So lema tiavi tiyufta to Rav Nuna. Maybe that says the kasha Rav Nuna. Delmar that was Rav Nuna say shomeres yavam shezinsa psula. Livama, right? So it says over there, Psula Livama. So that if she is Mazana, right, then she's like it's like a woman who basically is, went ahead and was with someone else, and she's also her husband. So too, the Shemeres Yavam cannot be with the Yavama, right, to her Yavam. No, it's right like an HC. So therefore, why? Because she's like a Zona, and therefore a Zona is also the Kuna. So over here it says a shomer siyavam shezin psula, but our case the Chor said only she's niveles with the stris. So Gemara says no, lo. Even if she was mezana with somebody else, it could even be say that she would be also to a Kohen, she'd be a zona. So why did it just say if she's niveles to him and not niveles to anybody? So since in the Reisha we want to mention chalitza to him is nothing, therefore Bia with him is something. We're comparing, contrasting, and do with the Sris, but not necessarily with others. She was waiting for a chalitza. Even if they do chalitza to her, she's not considered to be a chalutza. But if she is nivelas one of them, then she is aser. So Tama debal, but she is not nivelas with any of the brothers. Then she would not be aser to a kohen. Mm-hmm. So come on, who is this like? To look Rabbi Yehuda, not like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda, Hamar, island is zainahi. Right, Rabbi Yehuda has a shita that an islandess has the same halachic ramifications as a zona, and therefore she is considered to be asa lakuna, and therefore this would not be like our mission, because our mission says b'dafka she's mezana or she's niveles with one of the brothers, as opposed to over here it's just saying by being an islandess she's asa to a kohen. All right, we'll stop here. Shkoyach, everybody. Everyone have a wonderful